in eastern DRC that has resulted in scores of civilian deaths. These attacks go against the spirit and the letter of both the bilateral DRC-Rwanda peace agreement and the DRC M23 Declaration of Principles. Let me be clear. The killings perpetrated by the Rwanda-backed M23 against civilians in Rushuru territory and elsewhere are horrifying, and the United States condemns them in the strongest terms. Furthermore, U.S. government information confirms that M23, supported by Rwandan Defense Forces elements, battled DRC forces around Mulamba in South Kivu province in the DRC, beginning on 8th of August. We are also deeply concerned about the reports of attacks against civilians by armed groups operating with the support of some members of the Congolese army in North Kivu and South Kivu. The appalling ISIS DRC attacks recently against Christians underscore the broad instability in eastern DRC. We appreciate the efforts of the UN and NGOs to shed light on these unacceptable acts and condemn efforts to delegitimize the reporting of OHCHR and MONUSCO on this conflict. Mr. President, the United States fully expects the DRC and Rwanda to uphold their obligations to cease hostile acts and resolve disputes by peaceful means through the Joint Oversight Committee established by the June 27th peace agreement. We also expect the DRC and M23 to act in good faith under the Declaration of Principles signed in Doha, in which both sides committed to a permanent ceasefire. Continued hostilities run counter to the agreements signed by the parties. The United States will hold accountable spoilers to peace, and we call on Council members to do the same. The peace agreement and the Declaration of Principles are public. This is both to ensure that the people in the region can see a pathway toward peace and prosperity, but also to help ensure all parties live up to their obligations and commitments. We have already taken a first step to this end on August 12th, when the United States sanctioned 4 entities producing and trading conflict minerals in eastern DRC. Mr. President, we appreciate the African Union hosting the first Joint Security Coordination Mechanism meeting on August 7th, which initiated the concept of operations of the Harmonized Plan for the Neutralization of the FDLR and the lifting of defensive measures by Rwanda. We urge the DRC to implement the preparation phase immediately and expect adherence to the timeline as obligated by the June 27th peace agreement, including Rwanda's withdrawal of its forces from the DRC. We applaud Qatar's efforts in leading negotiations in Doha between the government of the DRC and M23. We also appreciate the efforts of the ICRC in implementing confidence-building measures between the two sides. And we support the efforts of the Togolese president as the AU's designated mediator in the crisis, and his leadership of the 5 facilitators named by the EAC and SADC. We similarly appreciate the AU Commission acting as a secretariat for the facilitators and urge them to implement their mandate as swiftly as possible. Implementation of the Regional Economic Integration Framework is dependent on the adherence of all parties to their obligations under the peace process. The United States is ready to support this effort through investment that benefits both the United States and the people of the region. However, to realize these opportunities, administrative control of the region must return to the DRC government under a governance structure that is representative of the local communities. Colleagues, addressing the crisis in North and South Kivu is among the first steps necessary to advancing peace in eastern DRC. To this end, all of us must hold to account ISIS DRC, armed groups, and other destabilizers for their egregious actions and insist all parties honor their obligations and commitments. I thank you.